Dysfunction in the family was becoming the norm, and the storm was on its way. Freshman year began with a glimmer of hope. I had tried so many different things to stop the madness. It didn't take long for the hope to die. Michael's first drug offense occurred within the first 3 weeks of high school. He tried to play football, which he so dearly loved, but the drugs became more important. One day, I drove an hour to watch him play in a game and discovered he had never even boarded the bus. The realization of how serious this was hit me hard. He had skipped a football game to get high. A second drug offense and then disorderly conduct offense landed him expelled and in an alternative school. The storm was in full force. Our family was completely falling apart. The cycle of dysfunction and drug abuse resulted in divorce and mental and emotional issues for me and my 8 children. Then one day, I found a bag of stolen jewelry and credit cards in Michael's room, so I had to call the police and turn my son in. That day will never leave me. My younger children were rushed out of the house with their older sister while the police came down the driveway. They came in my home, they searched my son's room, they handcuffed him and took him to jail at age 15. He looked at me in horror and yelled, "How could you turn your own son in?" It was what I thought would be the hardest day of my life. So down the road of the juvenile justice system we went. It eventually led him to a probation sentence of 18 months. I was hoping this would wake him up and maybe he would stop the storm. He continued to fail all of his drug tests, skip school, and commit multiple thefts. He was put on house arrest with an ankle monitor, and even then, he just left the house to go find his drugs. At this point, he was smoking marijuana about 20 times a day. He was experimenting with stronger drugs. Burglary and theft were his daily activities. He had so many people rooting for him and giving him multiple chances, but the addiction ran his life. I had to have him arrested 4 more times. Each time being harder than the previous one. I would sit in the multiple court hearings and watch my 15-year-old boy walk in shackled and handcuffed. Social services tried to help in every way. We were forced into every program that the juvenile justice and the social service systems had available. It was humiliating and unbelievably time-consuming. I started to search night and day for some program that would take him. The only problem was that as a single mom, I had no funds. I made numerous calls as a desperate mother, trying to save her son. The help was there, but I couldn't reach it. There was a huge river between me and the help we needed, and I couldn't get to the other side. So then the storm hit its most powerful level. My son had started cocaine, acid, and anything else he could get his hands on. The theft was nonstop to pay for it all. He broke into our home one evening. I had to call the police again. When they arrived, he ran, and then I would not see him for 18 days. I would lay awake every night wondering if he was alive, if he was cold. And after running out of places to hide from the police, he showed up at my doorstep and he collapsed into his sister's arms. He had been out all night in 20-degree weather, walking for miles with nowhere left to go. He will tell you that this was the low point that turned him around. After he cleaned up, we went to the police station, and once again, they handcuffed my son and took him away. This time we knew he was looking at a mandatory 2-year detention sentence unless some miracle happened. I told him I would find a way to get him some help, even though I had no idea what or how. I promised him. As my son sat in the detention center, I worked frantically as his court date was in 3 weeks. I prayed for a miracle and I had nowhere to turn. The miracle came in the way of a man named John Rubin and his organization, Saving Teens in Crisis Collaborative. A friend gave me their name. I emailed them to their website asking for help. I was told they didn't have any funds at the time, and my heart was broken. This was my only hope. So I made several more phone calls trying to reach someone. Apparently I reached the right person because out of nowhere, John Rubin himself called me. He asked about my son, Michael, and then he told me, "We don't really have the funds right now, but I am not going to let them take your son away from you." Finally, someone had listened to me. So over the next few weeks, John took all my information, and Marilyn Engelman was enlisted to help. Michael became a Saving Teens kid. And by the way, a huge miracle help was on its way. So 2 hours before my son's court date, I received an email from Saving Teens stating that Michael could receive the one scholarship that Second Major Wilderness was offering. I walked into court with my letter, and they agreed to let me place him myself in the program. I picked him up from jail the next day, and off to Second Nature we went. The program was a phenomenal experience for Michael. He worked so hard every minute that he was there. He had a special appreciation for being there. During his 12-week stay, he became known as a legend for his hard work and his perseverance. Both Michael and the amazing staff were significantly impacted by his experience. And as his time was nearing an end at Second Nature, the dilemma of what to do with him next became a reality. Marilyn worked really hard and found a therapeutic boarding school, Family Foundation School, that generally offered us yet another huge scholarship. And in addition, Saving Teens committed to an amount to make it all work. It was a leap of faith for all. I will never know how the money was raised or who all was involved behind the scenes, but I do know that one extraordinary man, John Rubin, listened to me, and this wonderful organization worked hard and saved my son's life. Michael has now been sober for 1 year. He's passed all his classes for 2 semesters at Family Foundation, and he is actually striving to graduate as a junior from Family Foundation School and go on to college. He ran cross country this fall, and he has a love now for keeping his body healthy. He's still working hard. He is receiving the support he needs to learn how to live a full, rewarding, and meaningful life as a sober young man. As for our family and my 7 other children, amazing miracles of healing have occurred, and we are all on our way to a rich and fulfilling life. Michael, myself, and my family all want to thank John